Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, viewers of Green Monday, young and old, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. We thank you for keeping a watch of Green Monday TV, and we thank you for particularly waiting for this health show that happens every Monday at 6 to 7. We want to thank Green Monday TV for allowing this show because it helps us to share with you the international health issues, the national health issues, but also creates awareness around health. I am Flavia Chomkama. I come from Action Group for Health, Human Rights and HIV, AGA. I am the Executive Director. AGA is known for community health, social monitoring and accountability, but it's also known for health financing advocacy. So it means that we advocate for more resources for health, for HIV, for TB, for malaria, for non-communicable diseases, for mental health, name it. For us, we encourage politicians, technical personnel to add more money to our budgets. But also we encourage that we use resources efficiently to ensure that the money that comes is able to buy what it is meant for, or in fact, we use less money for more services. We want to thank you for keeping watch, and today we want to discuss air quality, and this is International Air Quality Week, and we'd like to understand what air quality is all about, but also to appreciate that we are as good as the air we breathe. What do I mean? If you are living beside a rubbish bin or a compost pit, you know what I mean. The air would be smelly, the air would be smoky, the air would be contaminating as our surroundings. If you live in places where they burn bushes, like fire outbreaks where communities decide to burn rubbish, we know that the air we breathe at that moment is not clean. So we'd like to discuss air quality. What is clear? What is air quality? We need to have healthy air quality. Every other day we are breathing our oxygen, and the air we breathe in should be very clean. The air we breathe in as we move should be clean. The air we breathe in our houses is clean. The bedrooms where we sleep, it should be clean. And how do we make air clean? We need to ensure that we are living in surroundings that have a lot of trees, that have a lot of green, that brings out a lot of oxygen. It excretes oxygen and uses the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. So if you are able and you are around a place that you can plant a few green plants, if you can plant trees, it means you are facilitating the air quality. It's why you see that there is always a green belt in most of the towns. Much of the air we breathe in the towns is cleaned by the air and the green belts that happen in our countries. But you realize that like in Uganda, most of the green in our towns has been cleared, and much of our spaces in our homes are full of concrete, are full of they are full of non-organic materials. In fact, you have realized that we have a lot of floods lately. It's because we have cleared all the green, all the soil that would absorb the water that is actually bringing around floods. But if we had the green around us, it would give us more air, more fresh air, because the ground is also able to breathe. We do realize that when people die, we always want to bury in cement. But we know that wherever there is cement, you are breaking, you are covering the soil, and therefore no plants can grow there. So if you are still burying in cement, concrete, you want terrazzo, you want marble, we are killing our air. If we still have to have compounds that have concrete, that have pavers, we are killing our air. How can we make our landscapes more air-friendly? The air we have in our neighborhoods, in our surroundings, in our compounds during that day should be the kind of air, if it is fresh, that we have in the night. Because if you have fresh air in your compound, it means even at night you have fresh air, especially when you close your windows. The fresh air that we have should actually circulate our houses and cleanse all the carbon dioxide that we slept with when we are excreting gas, we are breathing, so that in the night when we come back to sleep, we have had enough air, enough cleansing of the rooms. Do we have windows? Do we have ventilators? Some of us may be in the posh areas. We are using air conditioners. That is good because you are able to filter the air, you are able to have the air that is not contaminated. Your windows and doors never opened, so the air that you have is cleaned and is made more palatable by the human beings, and also gives you health. But if you are living in a number of places like in our communities, we have a lot of poor drainage. It means you have a lot of stagnant water, you have a lot of rubbish bins around, so there is a lot of smell. That smell sometimes is carbon monoxide, sometimes is carbon dioxide. This affects our air, the air we breathe. So we get less of clean air, and therefore our lungs are affected. And if our lungs are affected, it means also our blood is affected. No wonder we are finding a lot more diseases like cancer of the lungs, cancer of the blood, cancer, because we are not breathing the right air. And it is no one to blame but us, because we have cleared the wetlands which were near us, which are producing fresh air. We have cleared the forests. If we are around Kampala, we had catchment areas like Namamve, peri-urban plantations. We had peri-urban plantations in peri-urban areas of the cities. Every town, by the way, should have a forest reserve which allows trees to grow, that they can absorb the carbon dioxide that we emit through the border, through the taxis, through the buses, through even our own breathing, because we are so many in a small area. You can realize that why Namamve had been left, not Namamve, Mabila had been left, and a number of peri-urban forests like those ones of Mpigi, the Mpambiles, was because they are supposed to absorb the gases from the factories, from the cars, so that the people who live in these towns, in the peri-urban city, in the urban and peri-urban centers where the air is limited and there are too many people, there is more population, that they can get green air. But we see that the likes of Mabira has been cleared, and we have put in sugarcane. Of course, sugarcane will also absorb, but not at the rate at which our natural trees and natural greens were actually absorbing the dirty air. It's why you hear that there is a lot of climate change, a lot of global warming, because we have tampered with our air. And this global warming is also affecting our air. Where we used to have fresh air, we're having a lot of heat. And the air we are breathing in is so humid that sometimes you even get choked because of the hot air we are breathing in. And yet we are supposed to be breathing in cool, fresh air. So for you who is watching me, do you have any green, any source of fresh air around you? In your home, around the workplace, in the community you live, is there any green place you find? Or we have made all our places concrete. We have covered the soil, and therefore the green has nowhere to sprout from. So we need to start thinking about the kind of air we breathe. When we go to our kitchen, many of us are still culprits of dirty air. We are still using charcoal. And you know the charcoal smoke, the soot, the firewood smoke, that one causes ugly and unfresh air. It hurts the lungs. No wonder, especially women and girls who are engaged in cooking, are these days presenting with many upper respiratory infections, the lungs, the bronchitis, the throats. You know, we are having a lot of infections, a lot of sicknesses of the respiratory process because we are breathing in bad air. So how do we improve our air in terms of cooking? It is high time that we started thinking about using energy savers, but also trying to look for alternatives to charcoal. But in Uganda, alternatives to charcoal and firewood are very expensive. The alternatives to charcoal would be solar, and you know how much it costs to install solar panels to be able to use them for cooking, and how many you might need. Like maybe in a household you might need several, like 5 of them to be able to use them, even more, because ours here of 100 watts, they are not enough, even if you put 10. The other alternative is gas, but we know how expensive gas is. It might be cheap if you are one person or two, but if you are a big family, it becomes expensive. The alternative also to buy pressure cookers. These ones cook very fast and use less energy. So it means you are exposed for a short while to the fumes from the charcoal, from the firewood. But do pressure cookers work on charcoal? Do they also work on firewood? But how much do they cost? Because if you can't afford a gas cooker, are you going to afford a pressure cooker? Because a pressure cooker, if it is new, many of them are starting around 100,000 and above. And how many do you need to prepare your food? If you are a big family, you need a bigger pressure cooker. So it is quite expensive. The alternatives for fresh air, preserving fuel and energy preserving stoves or methods of preserving of getting into contact with ugly air are very expensive. We had a case where Starbucks was delivering the NRM gas cylinders, but how many people got them? But even if they got them, how many people are able to sustain refilling them? Even if it is 70, if you are using it for a month, it is as good as the charcoal you are buying for a month, because if you are a big family, that cylinder may not last long. The other alternative is electricity, and we know that a number of communities in this country are not even on the grid. So they have to still use charcoal and firewood because there is no alternative. The gas is very expensive. The alternatives to charcoal and firewood, which emit a lot of smoke, which is unhealthy for our lungs, which bring a lot of unhealthy air into our bodies, are very expensive. Electricity, to be able to get electricity, you need about 300,000 to get a pole and then be connected. But that is before you even wire your house. We know that the wires are not cheap. The wiring is not cheap. The inspection, getting the certificates are not cheap. The processes are not cheap. And we know that a majority of Ugandans cannot afford, or are not even close, are not accessible to electricity which is actually generated here. Surprisingly, the electricity we generate here is not felt by the locals as much as our neighbors, Rwanda and Kenya, are. In fact, even their tariffs are cheaper than ours. So the expenses, our policy and programs have become a problem to this country, because you would imagine that the policies would serve the communities. But where we have failed to take electricity, take solar, to take gas, to the farthest place in Chisoro, to the farthest place in Karamoja, to the farthest place in Arua, Koboko, West Nile, then we shall continue to be seeing more sicknesses because we are not getting fresh air. But also, the more we want to be modern and sophisticated, the more we are deleting and destroying the environment by cutting trees, cutting the grass and putting pavers and concrete everywhere. It is going to take us a number of many other years to restore the fresh air that we used to feel. I, for one, in Kabale, when we would leave home, you would feel that nice air, which is stinging the nose. You feel the lungs opening, and you feel you are taking fresh air. But these days, if you bother to come up at a higher level and you stand over Kampala and you see the kind of air, the kind of dust, the kind of shadow that we have because of the gaseous exposure from the from the taxis, from the buses, my God, we are in for a rude shock. We shall continue to see diseases of the higher respiratory bodies, higher respiratory system. We shall continue to see TB. If you are still poor and we have very bad housing, we don't have ventilators. In some of our rooms, the one room we have, because we cannot afford to leave our windows open when we go to work, we open them once a day on Sunday. Already the neighborhood is polluted, it has bad air, it is smelly, it is smoky, but we are not even able to open these windows during the week. We only open them once a week. So we shall continue to see TB, meningitis, diseases that come because of pollution, of congestion, and the poverty, 10 people in the same house, in the same room. This week is International Air Quality Day, Air Quality Week, and we are discussing the kind of air we breathe, how healthy it is, what are the challenges to getting fresh air and fresh and air quality, but also what are some of the sources of poor air quality and how the policy framework can help us to improve our air quality. Like I said, I'm Flavia Chomkama. I work for AGA Uganda. We are based in Kagoma and we do health awareness, we do health financing, advocacy. In other words, we advocate for increased budget for health so that we have better health services. We also monitor government's obligation to deliver its services by doing social monitoring and accountability. So we go to the communities, we find out what's going on. If it is good, we applaud government. If it is not good, if there are gaps, we raise the issues high. We take them from the community to the district, to the ministries, to the parliament, and also to the Speaker of Parliament, because we know that the Parliament is the one which appropriates resources and makes the final say on what budget is. But also we engage with Ministry of Finance to discuss how the technical teams are allotting resources and where we think as communities the money should go. So we engage with communities and with government and the politicians and technical teams to ensure that we have good budgets, and we are glad progressively some of the issues that we raise at community level are coming into the policy and programming. So this week is International Air Quality Week, and we are discussing what is clean air. So what is clean air? It is the air you breathe and you feel fresh. You breathe it and you feel that your blood, your lungs, and the entire body is refreshed. But there are places you go and you breathe and you feel you are choked. Places you go and you breathe and you feel you cough. Places you go breathe and even your eyes can hardly see because the smoke or the toxins are actually going into your blood and causing you to fail to breathe. And I know all of us have faced this. So the air that is fresh is the fresh air we find like near the beach. You know why people have to be near the beach? There is very fresh air. The breeze is nice. You can feel the air entering your lungs and you can feel that is quite fresh. The air we find in national game parks or game reserves, where there are a lot of plants, a lot of flora and fauna, a lot of animals, the air that ails, the air that you breathe and you feel you are healthy, the air that is not contaminated, the air that is devoid of pollutants, devoid of smoke, the air that is devoid of things that can contaminate your lungs, that can hurt your body. The other places where we get very good air is the air near forests, like the air near swamps. There is that air that is naturally generated that is very, very clean. That when you feel that air, that breeze and enters your nose through the lungs, you feel the body refreshed. The air that we find around rivers, the air that we find in our communities where you have planted crops, the air that we breathe when you are along highways going up country, the air that we find around Mabila those days, the air that we had in Kabale in the 70s, 80s, early 80s, the air that we found around forests like Bugoma, Maramagambo, the air that we found around Maxon Park, the air we find in Kidepo, the air that we find in the parks, the air that we used to find in the Ankole Masaka ranching scheme. That time it was fresh air. Now it has been contaminated with houses, with homes, with, you know, the air that you used to find in Kalangala. These days you go to Kalangala and you find smelly palms. The fresh air you used to feel when you are leaving Lutoboka climbing up to the district in Kalangala. That air, even now there is a little bit. The air that you feel when you are on the sea, on the Lake Victoria, moving on the ferry. The air that you feel when you are in your village. I'm not talking about your villages which are in Kampala, around Kampala, but there are some villages around Kampala where they have preserved green, they have preserved the environment. The air around Lake Victoria, I know Lake Victoria is in Kampala, is also elsewhere, but if you get close to it, that air, but not the one of Gaba. The air of Gaba is smelling because we have contaminated even that air in the lake. We throw plastics, we throw the air we breathe when we go to places that are clean, that have green. The air we get when you go to forest camps. The air that we had at Kazi, the Kazi has been destroyed. The air that we find at the lake, the air we find in the bushes, the air we find when we go to the communities where we still have plants, where we still have trees, where we still have lakes, where we still have swamps, where we still have reserves, game reserve, forest reserves. That air, the air which you breathe when you went to the hills to dig, and then the soil would be smelling nice, and the air that is passing by, you feel it is quite fresh. Where can we find that air? We have to pay to get much of this air. To go to beaches, to go to game reserves, forest reserves, to leave your home because your home is polluted by charcoal, by firewood. It is polluted by burning of rubbish. It is polluted by the too many people you live with, too much carbon dioxide, with less oxygen producers in the surroundings. We don't even have flowers these days. We just do concrete. We are tired of cleaning, we are tired of planting, we are tired of sweeping. We only want pavers, we want concrete in our surroundings. But the more we kill the soil, the more we are dying. Those of us who are a little bit privileged, you would wonder why would the rich people feeding well, very nice houses are getting cancer. We sleep with cars in the houses. The pollution from these cars, the emissions they release every day that we sleep with in the houses. I now realize why when we go to the developed world, the cars sleep outside in the air, but for us, because we have polluted our air with thieves and theft, we cannot even leave our cars outside because the next day you'll find it has been manhandled and ransacked. How can we get clean air? Let us try to plant a tree close by, a flower. Let us look for flowers. Let us try to do home yard gardening. It is not, when you do flowers, they are very beautiful, but maybe you won't get food from the flowers, but you'll get clean air. Let us plant green vegetables. They can give you the nutrition to clean the body, but they can also give you fresh air outside your homes. They will absorb, they need the carbon dioxide you are emitting to produce oxygen that you need. Let us try to plant more trees, more flowers, more vegetables, more gardens. Let's have more gardens around our homes. And let us see how we can have better compounds without necessarily using concrete. Can we start thinking about burying without necessarily using concrete? When my husband died, people quarreled because me, I did not put concrete. Not because I didn't love him, but because I was looking at the environment. That even when he has passed, we have the money to do the concrete, but we should save the environment for our children we are delivering. And we claim we love the children. If you love them as much as you do, what kind of air are you leaving them? If we die, we go to the soil. You don't need to put a lot of cement, because even if they don't cement, you can't come back. No one has come back apart from Jesus. No one has ever died, buried in the soil, and then they opened the soil and came back. No. Let us try to preserve the environment. We need fresh air. We need quality air. So I was saying, as the up class, the middle class, and the upper class, we eat well, we feed well, we drive, we boast, we do whatever we want. But you see how much cancer is also targeting us as much as it does the poor. The poor are getting cancer because they are lacking the nutrients, they don't have the food. They are weak because of their status quo, because they are poor. But for you, you are rich, you have the money, you have the land. What is bringing cancer into our households? Those of us who are able to meet the costs and feed well and love ourselves. Can we start rethinking our air quality? This is Air Quality Week. Can we start thinking about our air quality? We, the leaders in our governments, in our local councils, in our districts. Do we have any green places where people can go and lie down and breathe fresh air? Even the likes of Lake Bunyonyi, they have been contaminated. You find all those hotels and, you know, everybody is building near there because they want money. But how are we preserving that environment? If people ever to do it, they could check if Lake Bunyonyi is still as deep as it was. Because I imagine the water, the soil, the residues and the sewage might be going there, because like we see here near our lakes, we find that many of our lakes, our rivers are contaminated with the sewage, the sewers that are being directed to the swamps. But how do we even protect our environment? We have reclaimed it, and therefore we can no longer get the fresh air. We have cut the trees and the forests, and we can't get fresh air. We have done concrete in our homes. We don't even have, you go to some homes, they don't even have a tree. They don't have even a flower. They don't have anything. Many of our homes are like that. And anyway, why would they plant a tree? Our pieces of land are 50 by 50. You put the house, you put the toilet, you put the gates, it is finished. There is nowhere to plant anything, but we can pot our flowers. We have those old basins, you have all those tins. Please use them to plant flowers. A few flowers are better than nothing. And you know there are some of those flowers which are purifiers of air, that when you put them in the house, they absorb the carbon dioxide, and you have fresh air. Especially for those of us who live in very small houses where we have 10 people in one room or 2 rooms with poor ventilation, with poor, we don't have windows. Some of our places don't have windows. If we do, we have very small ones. Others, we have built houses, wanted to put windows, but because we didn't have money, we have even blocked the windows, so there is no air, a place where air can pass. But we are sleeping with cars in the houses. How can we change this tradition of sleeping with cars in our houses? I think this is one of the things that is killing us. It is killing our air. We can't have air quality if we are sleeping with vehicles in our cars, in our houses. How can we get air quality? We can only get fresh air quality if we determine that we are going to make it fresh. Start thinking about the kind of energy saving stoves you're going to use, but also those ones which are emitting less smoke. I'm talking to you who is watching me. And you know you are using charcoal, you are using firewood. Let us also look at when we go to the fields to spray. Do we cover ourselves? There's also that kind of air which gets contaminated when we go to the fields. Can we get protective gear when we are going to spray? How do we clean our environment? Do we have stagnant water? Do we have soak pits, septic tanks? Do we have rubbish bins? Are we paying for garbage collectors? Because many of us are even throwing the garbage in the gutters, in the canals, all this water is choking our drainage and is causing us a lot of ammonia and carbon monoxide to stick in our homes, in our neighborhoods, and causing us non-fresh air. Let us plant. Let us get those old tins. Those of us who can afford flower pots, let's go and buy them. But we have those old tin, plastic basins, buckets, paint tins. Let us try to plant flowers in these tins, because they will help us to clean our air and improve our feeling. Because whenever you look at green, you feel fresh. The act of looking at green, I don't know what God did with green, did with water, but where there is water, where there is green, there is always fresh feeling and fresh air. How can we encourage ourselves that we have more ventilations? For all of us who are constructing, can we have more ventilators, more ventilation in our households? Those who can afford air conditioning, it is okay. But if you can't afford, let us see how to improve our air. And how can we even avoid dust from our houses? Maybe putting nets in our windows, but also that's not enough. Some of the air we have to endure, but we can only make our air fresh. We accept that outside there is dust, there is a toxin. Can we improve our own houses, house ventilation, aeration, and also ensure that we are using the right energy savers, but also reduce on the smoke that we breathe? For those who are doing bush burning, can we reduce? Because that smoke and the ash that moves around contaminates the air. The spraying is becoming common. Can we also ensure that we abide by the guidelines that we shouldn't destroy the wetlands, the forests? Let us keep the green, let us keep the environment, let us keep our soil. Let us try to ensure that we protect our air, because we are as good as the air we breathe. And this year we said it is our health, our right. And we are saying if it is our health and our right, we should protect our air and make it fresh. So once again, thanks for viewing us, and thank you Green Monday TV for providing us this space. We are ending now, but we are asking you to follow us on our YouTube page, Aga Uganda and Green Monday TV. Follow us, subscribe, like us, but also comment. If you have comments, we shall definitely respond. We cannot tell you everything in this 1 hour, but we can still meet online We can meet on the YouTube. We can meet in our other circles. We thank you for watching us. We thank you, those behind the cameras, Jackson and Aisha and others in the studio. We thank you. May God bless you, and happy Census Week. Bye-bye.